Hi, my name is Johan Venemark. In this phone interview, the author of BreakOutOfTheBox.com, Mary Bast, explains to us some of the main pillars for successful coaching and why being a coach is such a privilege. Lovely to speak with you, Mary Bast.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
We're talking today with the responsible for, you're a coach of 25 years experience.
Uh-huh.
And you're also producing the web out-of-box coaching, is that correct?
That's correct. Uh-huh.
And so I wanted to know with you today, what's the key for coaching and discoveries that you've made along your path with 25 years of experience? I know they teach us so many masters and so many tools in psychology, but what's the essence from your learning?
Yeah, and that has changed over time, Johan. When I first started coaching 25 years ago, I had all these lists of techniques, things that people could do if they wanted to be better at delegation, for example, a list of 10 things they could do. And what I've discovered over the years is that people, if they're motivated, can go learn those things themselves. That what really makes a difference is looking into a person's character, not so much their skills or competencies, but looking into kind of what makes them tick, helping people be present to some patterns that may have been habitual, that they could look into. For example, someone might be very quiet in meetings, and it's getting in their way to progress, either in their personal friendships or in their job. And rather than just saying, okay, let's do some video camera work and get you to learn how to speak up, it's also important to go deeper than that and find out, what's the habitual pattern, what's the story they've been carrying around that has kept them quiet and that makes it...
One question. What do you mean by story that they've carried around?
A belief, yeah. We all have a core belief, and for someone who's very quiet, it might be they'll find out I'm stupid. I've heard that from clients, or nobody cares what I have to say. There's usually some belief that's kind of the form of a story that we keep recreating in our lives.
Would you say a belief is like an unconscious thinking pattern that the client has, or?
Yes, yes, exactly. And it's like a story in that we keep retelling it. So, for example, if I were very quiet to speak up in meetings, and then when I do, I speak up quietly, people kind of talk over me, then I can say to myself, see, nobody cares what I have to say. So we tend to reinforce the habits, these patterns that we've habitually developed.
We reinforce the habit.
Yes.
Or let's say a limiting belief or something.
Exactly. That's a good, a limiting belief. Uh-huh.
Was there anything more to this that you wanted to mention?
Yeah, the very basic things that I've learned over the years, and most coaching schools will teach this as well, that you don't want to jump too quickly to solutions, and you don't want to make assumptions about whatever a client brings to you. If they say, I'm not getting along with my brother, for example, you don't want to make assumptions about what that is. You want to ask a lot of questions. And often the solution will be within the client's purview, within the client's knowledge base. If you keep asking enough questions, often the solution will show itself. Because a lot of times people haven't asked themselves those particular kinds of questions. It's both verbal and nonverbal. So somebody might say, I want to start up a practice and I want to know how to create a blog. Well, it would be very easy to say, okay, here's how you set up a blog. But the client is going to learn a lot more and be more effective if you say, well, tell me what sort of blog you're looking at and what would be helpful to you. What is stopping you from creating that yourself?
So it's a bit by like avoiding to step into the consulting role.
A little bit. That's a distinction some people make between coaching and consulting. A lot of times companies hire consultants because they want an expert opinion. Now, it doesn't mean a coach never offers an expert opinion, but you get a lot more really deep work done if you focus more on questions than on answers.
Yeah. So that's how you would unblock the limiting patterns in their life, no?
Yeah, and you can see, once the client begins to talk, you can see some things that they haven't been aware of themselves. An example might be some either-or thinking, some black and white thinking. They might say, well, I can't do that because of such and such. I can't do that because I don't have 25 years experience. Generically, black and white thinking it creates polarities. So you're either good or bad. You're either strong or weak. You're either assertive or passive. And actually, none of those are true. So when you hear it in a client, so a client might say, I can't go, this actually happened. A client said, I want to go to this workshop. He's a chiropractor, and there's a very expert workshop this weekend, but I promised my wife that I would help take care of our son. So I can't go to the workshop. I either have to stay home and take care of my son or go to the workshop. That's just a normal, everyday black and white thinking. I can only do one or the other. And so I said, so what if you could do both? And he said, well, yeah, I don't understand. I said, well, do you know the agenda of the workshop? And he said, yes. And I said, do you need everything that's on that agenda? And he said, no. Some of it would just be something I already know. So how might you work out something to take care of your son part of the weekend and see if the instructor would just let you go to the parts that are new to you? Just so you see, he'd never considered that. And once he began to consider how he might do both, he came up with other ideas, one of which was he knew where this instructor lived, and it was near a place where he and his wife were planning a vacation. So he said, you know what I'm going to do when I ask him if I can just come to part of this workshop is to ask him, could I come for a private lesson when we're nearby on vacation? So it just loosens up your thinking. It creates possibilities that otherwise would not be there. Once he let go of I have to do one or the other and started asking, how might I make both things happen? That opened up possibilities that went beyond, does he go to this particular workshop or not?
Okay, that's great.